Daniel joined. Tremendous. What's up, world? Fenikayo, Inemisomaki 7. All kinds of people hopping on. Appreciate you guys. Let me check the feed here over on Facebook. Make sure we're live on Facebook. We should be live on my page. We should be live in my group. We should be live on my YouTube channel. Juan, Carlos, Anuska, what's up, world? Appreciate everybody being here. Hold on, I'm probably going to have to mute on these other platforms. First of all, this session, I have something I do want to talk about, but I also want to say, you can ask me anything. This is an Ask Me Anything session. Ideally, it's, I don't want to talk about my politics. I don't want to talk about my religious beliefs. I'd like to talk about how to help people or how I can help you have a more awesome life. If you're looking to level up physically, personally, professionally, maybe you want to start a business, maybe you want to increase your income, I would love to talk about that, how I can help. I have been very fortunate, very blessed in my life. I work on the internet. I'm at work right now. I've been working on the internet exclusively since 2008. I've been working on my own without a job since 1995. When I was 16 years old, I had a job for an entire 3-week stint before I got fired and realized what I already knew, which was that I was completely psychologically and in all other ways ending in LY unemployable. And I would never again even try to convince myself that working for someone else was an option for me. I get that it's an option for many. I do not begrudge that of people. What's up, Pedro? I get it. But I think very often it's an option because it's the only option, because it's the only one most people are ever presented with in life. You're certainly not told in school necessarily that, hey, there's this whole world out there that you can go be involved in. That doesn't involve necessarily being an artist or an athlete. There are other things you can do, and you don't have to, work with your hands 14 hours a day and sweat, and grind it out in the sun on job sites, installing pipes and wires and cutting trees down. There's like this whole other world out there. Owning digital information or service businesses. Chang, what's up, Chang? Appreciate you being here. There's this whole world out there. And Michael's here. Appreciate you. I've been a member of that world since 2000. Well, really forever. Well, I guess I was a musician, and that's kind of in the middle there. But 2008, I got online and have just had a great ride ever since. So how can I help? How can I help people have a better life? I'm fortunate that I made a decision a few years ago. I actually have a quote. It's half written. I haven't published it yet. I say a quote. I mean, anything you say is technically a quote, right? It's a thing I'm saying, and I'm going to post it to Twitter. And my premise is this. I say, and it's a public service announcement to all the religious people out there. Look, if you want anybody to give a crap about your religious beliefs, which, very religious people tend to want other people to care about what they believe, because a lot of religions, it's based on getting other people into your thing, right? And I'm not taking a position on being evangelical or the act of proselytization or any specific religious camp at all. I'm not taking a position. I have a position, but I'm not going to share it here. But what I am taking a position on is that if you want to attract anyone to your thing, talking about it is like the worst thing you can do. It's the number one way to make people run away from your thing. And I live in a community, by the way. I live in southern Utah. It's a very generally a Mormon population here, and I'm not shaming anyone. I'm not judging anyone. I'm explaining the way human beings are. So I'll say this to my neighbors and as much as to the world at large. If you want anybody to care about your thing, don't talk about your thing. Live a life of such excellence across the board, such non-reproachability, that people are compelled to say, man, you've really got it together. Like, what's your secret? What is the glue that holds this whole amazing life together? At that point, you have an opportunity to talk about your thing. And I don't care if your thing is a religion, or if it's an MLM, or if it's a health product, or if it's a Pilates class, or if it's a hair product that you use. I don't care what your thing is. Nobody cares about your thing until your life is a beaming example of why anybody ought to care about your thing. Right? So I made a decision a few years ago based on that belief and a lot of others about actually wanting to be happy, wanting to be fulfilled. Is that I'm going to commit to excellence across the board in various aspects of my life. And in order to make that not just a nice idea, I need to develop a very specific philosophy with all the things that go into a philosophy, right? Like, core assumptions and, foundational theories and ideas and easy mnemonic, not necessarily mnemonic, but easy devices so I can have quick recall on the basics of what are important and what my priorities are. Basically, I need to come up with a lot of what are called heuristics, little mental shortcuts, so that I can remember to be excellent as much of the time as possible. Because, we all make these big resolutions. Every New Year's most people make resolutions, right? It's not hard to make resolutions. It's hard to stick to them over very long periods of time, right? Because there's generally not a fear carrot, or not, it's not even a carrot. I guess a carrot is a reward. Fear is like a sword. It's like the sword of Damocles, right? It just dangles over your forehead. There's not a fear sword dangling over your forehead around being excellent. There's just a fear sword dangling over your forehead around being good enough. You got to get out of bed in time to get to work. You got to get to work in time to get your paycheck. You got to do the work enough to get to your paycheck. You got to show up enough days to not get fired. You got to do that long enough to qualify, for your health benefits, and you got to keep those long enough to take care of your family, and you got to take good enough care of your family that nobody gets sick and you don't get attacked for being a bad dad or a bad husband or a bad wife or a bad mom or a bad kid. Or it's like there's always a fear around not being good enough, and so most of us spend most of our time being good enough. But nobody's ever going to say, you're not in the top one. Well, unless they're like an overbearing parent. You're not in the top 1%. That's not okay. Usually, if you're in the middle, most people are like, yay, you're in the middle, right? You're not failing. You're not losing. You're not a loser. So you have to develop the same very clear standards around why it's important to be excellent that most people have around why it's important to be good enough if you actually want to be excellent. It has to cost you everything to not be excellent. It can't just cost you the opportunity that would come from being excellent, because opportunity cost isn't a real thing that most people measure most of the time. There's always it's always costing you something to not be excellent. It's costing you something to not be in excellent physical condition, to not have an excellently balanced and optimized diet, to not have excellent habits at work, to not have excellent communication skills with your spouse or your partner. It's costing you something. But because you've never experienced, for most people, we never experience what it is that we're losing, what we're losing out on, we don't live with the feeling of lack that we would having experienced, most of us grow up experiencing kind of a basic quality of life, right? Let's call it a medium quality of life. We grow up with a medium quality life. We grow up with medium habits modeled for us. We grow up with medium rewards given to us, medium benefits received. And so we have a sense of what that feels like. So then if we grow up and we do less than average, we do less than okay, and we're not even able to experience the mediocre, we feel like we've lost something. I lost the benefits of being mediocre, right? I don't even have a house. I don't even have a family, right? Like I gambled all my money away and I cheated on my wife and now I have nothing. Well, okay, we know we lost something, right? But even if we don't gamble all our money away, and even if we're an okay husband and we have an okay life and we have an okay house and we have an okay car and we have okay relationships, then we're like, we actually don't realize that we've still lost something, which is the possibility of what excellence would have given us. But we never experience it, so we don't feel the loss. Anyway, it's a long way of saying I made a decision that I was going to find out what that felt like so that I could experience the loss. And once you start to experience, now, you experience the loss, you're like, yep, I don't want to lose that. Especially if you can hold it for a few years, right? And it's hard. It's hard. But the reason I was able to do it, let's be honest and kind of get to the point here. The reason I'm able to do that is because I have an online business. I make my money on the internet. I have an employee. I have an automatic, robotic, universally networked, endlessly working, never tiring employee called the internet that pays me all the time. And so I can do these crazy things like say, hey, I'm gonna create my own commandment list and my own basic philosophy of life, and I'm gonna live it, and I'm gonna practice it, and I'm gonna enforce it on myself, and I'm gonna hold myself to it, and I'm never gonna be in trouble with my boss. I'm never gonna be counted absent from a place of work. I'm never gonna face the consequences that most people have to worry about all the time because I don't have that sword dangling over my head. So what I'm really obsessed with now is helping people create the circumstances to support the belief in the value of an excellent life, because it's what I've imposed on myself for the last several years, both in terms of creating and maintaining those circumstances and also striving for and working toward, sorry, I got to turn my messages off so I don't get distracted, and working toward those objectives. And now that I have it, I'm like, I want this for everyone. So that's kind of my gig. That's my thing. Rosalind, hey, I appreciate you being here. Daniel, what's up? What's up? Diana, appreciate you being here. Over in my group, Fuad, hey man, I appreciate all your positive contributions in the community. Arlen's, Brent, looks like Steph is here, Troy is here, Brent is here, Idris is here, Jen Ara is here. I love it. I love multi-streaming, the multi-platform lifestyle even, if you will. It's kind of maybe a nerdy way to say it, but let's see. Who's here on the page? Over on YouTube, I don't think I can actually see stats on YouTube. But yeah, so listen, I'm here to answer any question. Who wants to know how to move their life forward toward this life? Somebody just shared, where is this? My ebook. Oh, it still says, yeah, how to get, man, okay. So no questions, all right. Well, then here's what I'm gonna talk about. So I just did a YouTube video on this, and listen, if you want to know how to keep up in the content game, you want to know how to get everything out there. I'm building a machine right now, by the way. I'll tell you guys this. You think, oh, this Jeff Lerner guy, he produces a lot of content. Well, so one of the decisions I made is back in 2018, September 2018. Hey, good, Rosalind. Glad to hear I got your name right. So back in September 2018, I said, I'm gonna do this. There's this possibility in the world. Gary Vee talks about it all the time. He's like, you can do anything you want in this world if you'll just take advantage of the tools that exist. Most people just don't do it. Now, to be fair, most people can't do it, or they have. I retract that. Anybody can do it. Most people don't have a clear path to being able to do it because of all the sort of inherent obstacles in their life, particularly around their time, right? Time and resources, but mostly time. And it's not just the time of like, oh, I go live every day, or oh, I shoot a 10, 15-minute video. It's the time that goes into like feeding your mind so that you can actually have the substance for your content, so that you can have stuff to talk about all the time, right? That's the far more time-consuming part of doing what I'm doing right now. What I'm doing right now, I said, I was supposed to be on a podcast. It was supposed to start 25 minutes ago. The guy had to reschedule. He sent me a message. I said, here's the link, reschedule, whatever. And I was like, I've got an hour free. I blocked off an hour. So what do most people do when they have an hour? All of a sudden it's free. Like, I can relax. I can play Fortnite. I can watch TV. I'm like, no, I'm going to go live. But I'm able to do that because I feed the machine all the time. I'm constantly consuming information. I'm constantly developing ideas. I'm constantly coming up with messaging and communication. I'm constantly trying to refine my message. I'm constantly trying to define my brand and create that. I have a purpose. I have a mission. I have a reason why I'm doing all this. Like, all that stuff is possible because I have a life that has the flexibility and the opportunity, right? And the flexibility and the opportunity comes from the fact that I have a business that feeds my life in a much easier, higher leverage, lower friction way than most people that have to go trade their time away at a place and in a manner of someone else's choosing for a wage that the other person sets, right? And so that's why I'm so passionate about starting an online business, not because I have this deep love for the internet or pushing buttons or clicking the mouse or whatever. It's just because as a means to an end, I haven't found something better. The only other thing I've found that's even remotely comparable is owning income-producing real estate, which I do that too, but it's a lot more expensive and a lot higher risk to do that because of the sums of money involved and the risks involved. And I've been through those ups and downs, and I've been through things that would have absolutely wiped out most people who didn't have the base of income and the base of steady cash flow, predictable cash flow from like I do with my online business. I don't say, hey, newbie who's got no experience in business or investing and no automated cash flow, oh, go get into real estate investing, you'll be fine. That's dangerous advice. I don't advise that. I was advised of that at one point in my life and frankly got my butt kicked. Now it's a lot easier because I have other cash flow to work me through the 6 and 7 figure challenges that you face when you're trying to deal with real estate investing. But it's the only other thing I found that's even close structurally, where it produces ongoing cash flow and allows you to grow a base of assets over time and get all the benefits of business ownership without necessarily all of the risks, because at least it's rooted in physical property. Real estate's the only thing I found that comes anywhere close, but honestly, the internet blows it away. It's a little more technical. You got to learn how to do a few more things. But once you get internet, what I call digital real estate assets, your life is just, you're on cloud nine, man. You don't even live a life close to the same challenges of other people, which is so frustrating because you actually go through this life. It's like the Cassandra complex. If you know Cassandra from Greek mythology, she was cursed to know the future, but nobody would listen, right? Like I know what's possible with internet real estate or digital real estate. I know what's possible with internet-based business. So I feel like I'm all the time going around trying to convince people that this is a thing. This is a real thing for them. And unfortunately, it's been so perverted and corrupted by so many knuckleheads out there, so many, scammers online, these pop-up gurus that act like they know a thing or two. I've been doing this since 2008. And this isn't a conversation to convince you. If you're here, you're probably already convinced. If you're watching, I just, that's my life. And the thing is, that's a choice. That's actually an option for anyone who's willing to do it hard, do it for a long time, and work hard and be committed to excellence through the whole process, right? But you're going to commit, and first of all, you should commit to excellence at anything. If you're going to do it well. And then from there, you go, well, what thing should I commit to? Well, pick the thing that's ultimately going to give you the best quality of life, right? And I think that's what this is. Hey, appreciate the heart. Somebody just gave me some hearts. Let me check over here. Rosalind says she's trying her hand. She started a podcast. Diana's going through the blueprint. Tremendous. I appreciate both of you so much. I'd love, Rosalind, tell me your experience with the podcast. As I mentioned, I was supposed to be doing a podcast right now. I started my podcast a couple months ago, and we're just really getting our systems and processes dialed in. But I have a lot to share, a lot that I've learned because, for us, we didn't just do a podcast as an end in and of itself. It's a very intentional part of a larger machine, and we have some really cool systems and processes we're putting in place around it. If you want to share your experience at all, I'd love to chat with you. Like I said, ask me anything on this conversation. I'll chat about that. Hey, Brent has a question. How are current events affecting Ancha right now, and how do you counter it or recover from it? Hey, I totally appreciate that question. And honestly, we've had, so when did COVID start? In March, maybe late March. Well, I guess it started, months and months before that, but it became a big thing, right? So from February to March, our business was up about 50%, but that was just probably, I would say, natural growth because we were hitting an inflection point where we were turning up some ads and just doing some, we had some things dialed in. February was actually kind of a valley in a cycle we were going through. And then I thought we would kind of ramp slowly. Instead, what's happened is from March to April, we were up almost 50%. From April to May, we were up 60%. And May to June, I expect we'll be up about 50%. And then I'm projecting to go up another 60% in July. So in answer to your question, since COVID started, 70%, 40%, 50%, 60%, 60% month over month growth. Those are my numbers based on a 5 or 6 month projection. I may have bungled those numbers a little bit, but you get the idea. Long story short, crushing it. Absolute hockey stick, exponential, parabolic, every other, algebraic adjective of rapid growth you can imagine. We're going through it right now. Think about it. People going home, people learning that they can work from home, they can be productive working from home, there are benefits to working from home, and now that they are working from home, maybe they want to keep working from home. Maybe now that they've crossed that bridge of figuring out how, and developing work habits from home, maybe they'd like to get a little more control over that decision and start to build a business on the side that ultimately could make it a choice. COVID has been great for our business, and frankly, I view learning to work from home as a very necessary step in a post-COVID world, so I don't even feel that guilty about it. I'm actually like, this is good. We're being part of the solution. Empower people to develop these skills. You know who is not worried one time at any point about his life being affected from COVID? Is me. I don't have to go around people anyways, right? I'm never going to contract. I talk to millions of people every day now with my ads and my lives and my videos and stuff. I literally talk, I don't know if I talk to millions. I talk to millions of people a week. I definitely talk to many, many hundreds of thousands of people a day, and I'm never going to catch anything from any of them because I leverage the power of the internet. I started doing that 12 years ago when it wasn't cool. It wasn't fashionable, right? And then this latest thing, I would say I saw an impact on our business for literally a couple days. Like yesterday and the day before, I was like, yeah, this kind of sucks. I financially, I see an impact, but I understand. I'm not going to boo-hoo about it. But already today, it's bounced back. I mean, and again, I don't apologize for, having to deal with the realities of owning a business through this or any other crisis, just like every other business owner does. And I'm grateful that, I'm not only in a business where I think I benefit from both comfort and chaos, but I'm also part of the solution for those problems at the end of the day, let me just say this. And Fanny says, it's a good idea putting investments on the trade market. Every market is based in trading. So trading of what? I don't know. You mean like stocks? You mean like options? You mean like futures? You mean like Forex? I don't know what you mean. Generally, my question is no, or my answer is that it's probably not a great idea unless you are working with a lot already. I would say any trading in any market, unless you're very sophisticated about it, is basically I would say treat it like gambling. I'm not saying it has all the same risks around gambling, but treat it like gambling and don't do it with money you can't afford to use. Thoughts on drop shipping? Ben, I appreciate that question. Do not like drop shipping as a business model. We used to teach drop shipping inside of Entra, and I removed all that curriculum because, first of all, you're dealing, in many cases, you're either dealing with getting product from China or you're competing with people who do get product from China. And either one has problems. Getting product from China, you're dealing with quality issues, you're dealing with shipping time issues, you're dealing with cost, or not cost issues, you're dealing with uncertainties around, especially right now with, customs and COVID and transborder commerce, that's a problem. And then if you're trying to do domestic sourcing, you're dealing with competition from Amazon. You're dealing with competition from people who are getting products from China. And ultimately, I think in terms of internet-based commerce around physical goods, the only way to do it really effectively now is to build a really good brand, which takes a lot of time and a lot larger investment than most people are willing to make initially in upstarting a business around a generic product that they don't own or have passion about. Like, I'm building a brand. I'm doing the work to build a brand, and I love it, and it's great, and I'll do it for years. I'll do it for decades because it's my life and my passion, right? But I wouldn't be able to generate this kind of energy around building a brand for, remote controlled electronic cars that I was importing from China. Like, but at the same time, unless you actually build a brand, unless you build a brand that people can connect to and you have lore and you have story and you have all the things that go into really good branding that people can connect to, then you're always just left competing on price with whoever the cheapest seller on Amazon is. And it's just not a fun game. And even if you want to know about selling on Amazon, go watch the one of the latest interviews I just published on my YouTube channel, at Jeff Lerner Official. An interview with a guy that had a multi-million-dollar a year Amazon business, and we totally spilled the beans on Amazon FBA. Even when I was teaching dropshipping, I never taught Amazon FBA for some reasons that he just confirmed. But yeah, man, I do not like the physical e-commerce business on physical goods e-commerce business online unless, well, there you go. So you selling services, I'm totally down with. You said drop shipping, so I mean that's physical goods, but yeah, services. So now you're talking about information marketing and or services. Rock on, man. Sign me up. That's all I've been doing. I was an affiliate marketer from 2008 to 2012. Did really well at that, but since 2013, all I've basically done is sell services or straight up information and training. 2013 to 2018, I had an agency. All we sold was digitally fulfilled services, right, to local businesses all around the US and Canada. We had over 10,000 direct customers. We provided services to over 30,000 customers. We made the Inc. 5000 multiple times, generated almost between 25 and $30 million in sales during that time, all selling services. I never shipped a single product. And it was all remote sales. I did no business with anyone in my hometown. It's one of the reasons I get to be kind of a cranky, sequestered person all the time, because I never have to deal with people locally. So I never pay the penalty for being antisocial, right? Like I don't have to go network at the gym and try to drum up business. So selling services is amazing. I started my training business in fall 2018. And that's Entra. That's what I do now. Same thing, man. Selling information, training, and services. Love it, dude. Amazing, because the margins are better, right? And I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but yeah. Ben, great question. Appreciate the question. Let's see. Hey, Kirsten. Hey, Kirsten. How's it going? Appreciate you being here. Stuart, what's up? Man, we got great questions being asked. Who else is here? We got 10 comments over here. So much good stuff. So yeah, let me tell you a story. How long have I been going here? Let me see. How long has this conversation gone on? I don't want to overstay my welcome. Well, can I see it here? Can I see it there? Can I see it somewhere? 26 minutes. All right. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. 1996, Jeff Lerner, this guy, dropped out of high school, failed. I consider that failure one. By most conventional standards, I failed at even finishing high school. Dropped out my junior year and decided I'm going to be a piano player. And my parents were supportive. I mean, they were probably a 10 out of 10 in terms of how parents could normally react to a situation like that. But they also were pretty clear, like, okay, well, there's going to be some consequences with this decision, but we will support you if you want to try to be a musician. They actually bought me a piano to practice on. And I practiced really hard. It was like March when I dropped out of school, maybe February, I guess, dropped out of school. Practiced really, really hard all the way till August. So March, April, May, June, July, August, 6 months. I worked my butt off as a musician for 6 whole months. And I thought that meant that I was good because I had literally just started that year. So I went to the university, tried to audition to get into the music program. And they said, you're not that good, but how long you been playing? I said, about a year. And they said, okay. And who do you study with? And I said, no, I'm self-taught. I got this. Don't worry, I'm figuring it out. And they said, and when did you graduate from high school? And I said, well, actually I didn't. I dropped out. And they're like, okay, is this a joke? Like, seriously, you're coming in here, you're trying to audition to get into this music program in a college. You didn't graduate from high school. You don't have a teacher, and you've only been playing for a year. That you realize this is like a good music program. Like we're world-class pianists as faculty, and our students are like very, very good. Okay, so failure number 2, right? Didn't get in. So but anyway, so every semester I went back for 6 consecutive semesters and auditioned. I went back and I got my GED so that I could get into any college. got into that school as like just a general major, started taking classes, whatever, but I was really intent on getting into the music program. So I practiced all day, every day, all the free time I could for 3 years, auditioned every semester for 6 consecutive semesters. Finally, on the 6th go around, I was now 20. I had started trying to get in when I was 17. When I was 20, they finally let me in. They're like, and I don't know, they probably just let me in because they realized I was just going to keep coming back, right? Maybe he'll end up like a high school band instructor or something. So I got in when I was 20, and one of the faculty members was actually so impressed with my persistence, he actually gave me my first gig. He said, here, go play for this. The pay at my first gig was, it was this place called the Reggae Hut. Anybody who's in Houston, Texas, down on Alameda, south of the medical center, you'll know this little Caribbean place, little Jamaican restaurant called the Reggae Hut. And they paid me, every meal I would go in and play keyboard for 2 hours, and then they would give me a plate of jerk chicken. That was my pay for my very first gig, was jerk chicken. Did that gig for a year. Networked, met a few other musicians, finally started getting some other gigs. Anyway, I was able to start working, built ultimately a nice career as a musician through my 20s. In 2002, I was now 23. Bear in mind, I've already realized I can never have a job. That's actually why I became a musician. So 23, I flipped my first house on a credit card. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, got obsessed. I think I've still got it here somewhere. Yep, I got a new copy right here. This book, this flipping book, no pun intended, convinced me to flip my first house on a credit card. Probably not the best idea in hindsight. Anyway, lost my butt. Credit card's maxed out, back to zero. So that's failure number 3, right? So 2 years after that, I put a business plan together with my buddy. He was a bartender. I was the piano player at this place. He attended bar at McCormick and Schmick's, if you're in Houston again. I was playing piano at Sullivan's. I had met him one night when he came into Sullivan's. We talked. Anyways, and then I started going into McCormick and Schmick's, and we just hang out and whatever. We hatched this idea to go sell coupons in college towns. Started a business 2002, and worked hard for, like, basically every summer we'd go around all these college towns selling coupon advertising to these local businesses, get our butts kicked. I got probably 1,000 doors slammed in my face every summer from business owners that didn't want to talk to me. They were annoyed, literally door-to-door business, B2B door-to-door sales in the hot summer in small towns in Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and Louisiana. There's literally nothing more miserable, right? And you're poor, you're broke the whole time. You're staying in cheap motels, eating, literally eating fast food 3 times a day. And my buddy and I, we just had a dream, man. We had a dream. Got our butt kicked, failure after failure after failure after failure. Managed to actually hold that business together. Let's see, I've got a timeline over here. That was 2004. I was putting this together for a YouTube video the other day. And during let's see, 2004. By 2006, we were hanging on by a thread. We were just barely making enough money to pay to print the cards, these coupon cards. We weren't actually making any money. I was still playing 200 gigs a year as a pianist. He was still bartending 200 nights a year. Actually, I say 200. I was probably playing 300 gigs a year at that point. 2 years later, we finally go, man, we got to come up with something more creative here. What if we could send the coupons to people's phones? So we get them to, we actually hire a programmer. We go raise some money. Oh, I see some good questions. I'm going to answer these questions, but let me tell you a little bit more of the story. So I go raise some money, which meant I had to go put a business plan together, another business plan, only I was pitching to investors. If you've ever pitched to investors, I pitched to probably 40 investors. I got into these angel network groups. I got into these entrepreneur groups. I went to meetups, pitched to all these investor groups, got rejected. Finally got a couple investors, put some money in so we could hire a programmer, so we could create this software that would send coupons to people's phones. We thought it was genius. That failed. I get exhausted just talking about it. This is years and years of my life. For that company, I had to learn how to do the Adobe Creative Suite. I had to do InDesign. I had to do Photoshop. I had to design all the cards. I had to design all the brochures. I had to design all the sales material. I had to design all the pitch materials. I had to design the slide deck. I learned how to do PowerPoint. I had to learn all this stuff. I didn't learn it in school. I taught myself all this stuff, right? Even had to learn some basics of code, learned HTML, learned CSS, learned JavaScript, even learned a little PHP so I could customize our WordPress site, learned SEO so I could start trying to get us ranked for mobile marketing keywords. Finally, I guess 2007, we had to fold that up. Took whatever money I could pull out of that, went into these franchise restaurants. Bear in mind, I'm still playing hundreds of gigs a year as a piano player. Tried opening these franchise restaurants. 2007, Great Recession. World collapsed. I'm 28 at that point. World collapses. Lose all our money. Now I'm $495,000 in debt. I got the bank coming after me. I got the U.S. Treasury coming after me because it was a federally insured Small Business Administration bank loan that they never should have given to me in the first place because I didn't know what I was doing. I got lawyers coming after me. I got real estate trusts coming after me because I owe 2 landlords on 4 years left on these big expensive leases. I had $150,000 worth of lease payments that I owed. Sales tax, income tax, just everything, right? Go into hiding. So I'm hiding so deep that from there, I'm like, man, what am I going to do? I managed to squeeze $400 out on a credit card. I start trying to learn this online business thing. And I even changed my name at first because I felt like if I made any money, there were so many people trying to take my money that they would take it. They would find me and they would take my money. So I started marketing under a pseudonym for my first year online. Finally got that going. Anyways, from there, I actually started to make something work. What do you hear in that story? Anybody? I'd love to hear you guys. What did you guys hear in that story? By the way, I've generated about $50 million in sales since where that story left off. On the internet, mind you. Let me see. We got so many good comments here. Like, I am so grateful to people who are tuned in right now. Hang on, I'm going to have to mute this. Ben, best tip for a junior in high school trying to make a full-time income. I'm trying to make enough to convince my parents I don't need college. Yeah, I mean, I totally hear you. Why is this not working? Sorry, I'm trying to blow up the video so I can see all the questions. Make enough. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the internet. Like, you got to start an online business. You got and start building a YouTube channel. I would say at your age, best type of digital real estate you can probably easily build is start building a YouTube channel. It's a long game. If you're a junior, I would say by the time, in a year, you could comfortably have a YouTube channel that's producing probably, I don't know, maybe $1,000 a month in just YouTube ad rev share. And then what you do, so you start putting the videos up, try to focus on topics that are relevant, that you think not only are people are going to watch, but that the kind of people that are going to watch are also the kind of people that advertisers would potentially want to target, because then you're going to generate more because there's going to be higher priced ad auction bids to run ads on your videos because of who they're targeting, and you'll get a lot more ad rev share. Anyway, hopefully that made sense. But then also, as you're creating this video content, you can put links in the description that are affiliate links, so you can also generate affiliate revenue. I bet you if you did that consistently for a year, put out one piece of content a day on a well-researched subject that targeted a reasonably affluent, user base with a relevant affiliate link in the description, you could probably be making $1,000 a month just in rev share from YouTube, and probably another $2,000 to $4,000 a month from affiliate commissions. You'll be at 60 grand a year passive in a year if you do that every day, starting now. I mean, those are rough round numbers, but I mean, I'm building a YouTube channel along similar lines, so I have a pretty good idea what I'm talking about. Let's see. Jay Howe says, I'm in sales for cleaning and security and had no new business. My boss is going to sack me if I don't win anything. Here's, without really thinking it through at a deep level, I'll say this. Is anybody buying sales or cleaning and security right now? If nobody's buying cleaning and security, why would you want to be in a business selling something that nobody's buying? And maybe that's just the way things are right now. But here's the deal. There are some things that people are buying. So if anybody that's selling something that people are buying, would be interested in is probably looking to grow their sales team. So I'm not saying quit your job, but I'm saying probably keep doing what you're doing. But and if you're excellent at it, which I don't know, I mean, obviously hold yourself to a standard of excellence, develop your skills, practice in the mirror, get on the phone, role play with people, model whoever the number one salesperson is, do all that stuff. But if it still isn't working, then while you're working on it, find a company that's selling something that is selling right now and try to go work for them, right? You can never say the right thing to the wrong person. And so if you're selling the wrong product, that means everybody you're talking to is the wrong person because it's the wrong timing. And don't beat yourself up, right? Let's see what else. Why? I can't view all these comments. It's like super frustrating. Let's see over here. Oh yeah, so I said, what do you hear in that story? And I appreciate it. Never give up, persistence, not being afraid of failure. That's the one I was looking for. They're all true, right? Not being afraid of failure. I failed over and over and over. And because when I was in my mid-20s, I had a conversation with a billionaire named Bob McNair. I played piano at Bob McNair's house. Guy that owns at the time and still, well, actually passed away in 2017, but he owned the Houston Texans football franchise. He's worth $4 billion when he died. He was worth about $2 billion when I was playing piano for him. And he told me his story. This guy failed. He started his first business at 23, failed consistently and repeatedly till he was 46 before he finally had his break and became a billionaire. And he said, everybody kept telling me to stop. He's like, well, I'm like, and they're like, well, you're a failure. Like, you failed. Stop. You fail, you stop, right? Those go together. And he's like, I never actually connected those two dots. He's like, I never understood why failure means you stop. So he's like, it's not that I persisted. It's just that I didn't stop. It never seemed natural to me to stop, so I didn't. And what's left over when you never quit? The leftover of never quitting is persistence. And so eventually you get there, right? Because you learn so much along the way. In fact, the guy, I forget what he sold, but he sold stuff to power plants. And he was in a power plant one day and he touched something that was really hot. And he kind of had this light bulb moment. He's like, man, there's a lot of things around here that are getting really hot. Well, heat is energy. And if they're heating things up so much that me on the outside of whatever the contraption is, if I could burn myself from the heat, that means there's heat coming through the thing and being wasted, right? It's the fact that it burned me means it was wasted. So what if I could capture that lost energy, that thermal energy, right? The energy that's being lost is the form of heat. What if I could capture that and recycle it and actually capture that energy and use it to run the plant that's generating the energy? It's called cogeneration. He invented this concept of recycling the lost thermal energy in a power plant to feed back into the plant to help create more power. And that made him a billionaire, right? And it happened because he was on some job that he had to take where he burned himself because he just never quit. He kept taking jobs to support his dream that he never gave up on, or else he never would have been able to see the dream through, right? Okay. So let me, God, this is a good one. We got all kinds of questions. Do I like Shopify? I love the platform. I don't know, the platform's great. I run both of my e-com stores on Shopify. I do have 2 e-com stores. One of them is related to my brand. Like I talked about, if you build a big brand, you can have an e-com store. It's a good opportunity for me to say, if you want to buy an Entre shirt, go to store.entrenation.com. That's one of my e-com stores that's built on Shopify. But again, the reason I can do that is because there's nobody else out there competing with me. You can't buy Entre shirts on Amazon. You can't buy Entre shirts from anyone else. I built the brand first, then I launched the store, right? Any tips to stop being shy? Yes. I call it creating your success character. The key to no longer being shy is to not worry about no longer being shy. You will be shy for the rest of your life. I am an introvert. People, to some degree, they scare me. Shy. Yeah. And they also drain my energy, not in like a mean way, but just in like the reality is other people drain my energy. That's what being an introvert is. And you're never going to change that. Stop trying to change it. Accept it and create a character, create a costume, create this other thing that you can step into that's not shy. And I'll give you an example. Excuse me. Have you ever told a joke Let me tell you a joke. And I was raised Jewish. I'm part Jewish ethnically and by origin. So I can tell a Jewish joke, right? Let me tell you a joke real quick. So there's this old Jewish guy, right? And he says, son, you gotta take the diamond to the merchant because we own diamond shops. That's what we do. We're the Jews. And you take the diamond and you sell the diamond.